I
Okay.
have your permission, and I have a little video editing software that I use. Sometimes a little wonky. So
Mm-hmm.
far, it looks okay. Because
Okay.
we could also do it on Zoom, but so far so good. I think
Yeah.
we'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said before, if I ask you anything, you're like, nah, 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 like just tell me and
Right.
we'll cut it out.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with the introduction. So, today we have a very special episode that is part of the adoption series of the Stop Yulin podcast. With me is Annmarie Puzelli, who first heard about the dog cat me trade back in early of 2014. She was captivated by the issue and wanted to help make a difference. She made the decision to adopt Smiley in November of that year from Nami Kim of Save Korean Dogs. Since then, she went on to adopt two more survivors: Justice, a Bernese mountain dog from Last Chance for Korean Dogs, and more recently, in 2018, she adopted Kane, a dog rescued from a Korean dog meat farm that was shut down by K9 Global Rescue. So we are very lucky to have Anne-Marie share with us not only one adoption story, but three. Unfortunately, Smiley did pass away in 2018 from multiple health complications, but he died knowing that he was very much loved and cared for, something that was made only possible by the love and devotion of Anne-Marie. Smiley was one of the first ambassadors of the dog meat trade in the United States, and he changed Anne-Marie's life forever. He clearly made an impact on the people who were fortunate enough to cross his path. So, welcome to the show, Anne-Marie.
Thank you for that smiley introduction.
Yes, I know Smiley. We spoke about Smiley, and he's a dog that changed many things for you,
Yeah.
many things for many people.
And good.
So we're
And
going to
good.
definitely be talking about Smiley today. He's remembered very fondly from you, your family, and a lot of the community.
Hmm.
So I'm so grateful that you accepted my invitation because I think adoption is an aspect of the cause that is so important. And if these dogs are not adopted out, they cannot rescue more dogs, and so
Right.
a role like yours is super important in the solution. So we are obviously going to talk about your three dogs that were rescued from the dog me trade today.
Hmm.
But also, I always like to have an idea of how you first heard about the cause, the dog meat trade. I believe you said it was in 2014, but how did you hear about it?
Well, social media.
Yeah.
I think that social media really brought this to the forefront because before social media, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't even remember what life was like not knowing about it because once I knew about it, it was like something that it stuck in my head like all the time.
Yeah.
So I saw it in probably early 2014. um, I saw a soy dog, and I immediately became a donor. I saw a Facebook post, and I fast forward to about October of 2014. I saw a post from Nami Kim, and it was a picture of Smiley, and it was his story, and she was looking for an adopter.
Mm.
So I instantly connected. I mean, I had seen things before, but this was like, this is the dog. I Because I had talked to my husband about it before when I learned about the trade that I would
Yeah.
love to do that, but I was a little leery. Plus I had other dogs and it was always a concern bringing a dog from another country.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal for many issues.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I kind of had accepted by that point that I knew I had to do something.
Yeah.
Didn't know before then if I would adopt or not. But I wound up taking the picture, the computer to my husband, and I showed him and I said, look at this dog, read the story and let me know what you think. And he said, let's get him
Oh
because
wow, he was
he
on
already
board.
knew. He already
Oh,
knew that this was something I wanted. We talked about it.
wow.
And so I messaged Nami,
Yeah.
and our next
On
communication was,
Facebook?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, on
okay.
Facebook Messenger.
Were
Um,
you were already on social media, so Facebook, I guess at the time, I
yeah,
don't know if there was
yeah, it was
Instagram.
Facebook.
I'm not even
Hmm.
sure when Instagram came in the picture. But mostly
Yeah,
Facebook, eh? So,
yeah, it was Facebook. I probably commented and asked her if he was available, and we started like that. But then we started communicating in Messenger, and then email. Because I let her know I wanted to adopt him. So,
right.
but I did have some questions that I emailed her. About disease,
Yeah.
about trauma, the transport. I knew nothing about this.
No,
And
it's like brand new for you. Like that
yeah,
same
it
year,
was.
you decided to adopt a dog. You hear about it in early of 2014, and in October, you make a decision,
Yeah.
a life-changing decision.
Exactly. And it was not like me because I'm usually I always stay in the safe zone, and I
And you
you know
plan things ahead.
yes, yes. So
Yeah,
this was like but like I said, deep down I knew. So I was just pushing myself to do this. It was something I really wanted to do.
yeah.
So,
It spoke to you, and that picture of Smiley really resonated with you. Like it hit you, you
oh
know,
my God,
right
yes.
straight at the heart. Yeah.
Oh, I can't even explain it. I mean, till
Wow.
this day I get chills telling the story.
So you
Um,
never had heard about the Yulin Dog Meat Festival before that? You had, like, 'cause
I
that's how I heard about it.
No,
Oh,
I had not yet heard about that.
oh
I
wow.
I learned about that, through NAMI, and then when it started becoming more of an issue here in the US, there was more awareness. You would see that all the time.
Yeah.
Um, so really for me, the day to day, every day that this goes on, it's like I thought about it every day. Like, how many dogs are getting tortured and killed today? How many
Yeah.
dogs are getting tortured and killed today? So Yulin Festival, that's a festival that consists of a few days, but this is 24/7. This is
Yes, that's so important. And when I first heard about the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, it was like hard to believe that this was still happening. We were like, I think I heard about it in 2018,
hmm
and I thought it was a bad joke. I had a hard time believing that this would
yeah,
be happening. It's not just the fact that they would eat dogs, because I had heard about that. Some people
right.
would tell me in China they eat dogs and cats. But I was like, okay. Uh, but when you see
Yeah,
the pictures and the violence, for me, that's what shocked me. Of course,
me
like most
too.
of us, it was
Yeah,
the brute violence, and like, why are these people barbarically torturing these dogs, and for what purpose, to what end? And so I started looking into it, and I
hmm
discovered, sadly, that it's a 365-day a year
yeah.
situation, and it takes the lives about, in China alone, it takes about the lives of 10 million cats, dogs, and 4 million cats. And I see you have your little companion there. Are you able to tilt the?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my God,
justice.
I can recognize him, and this is Justice, right?
Justice, look over here. Yes, this is justice.
Oh my God, and he was rescued in what year again?
Um,
Oh, hello, Justice. You're so beautiful.
2018. Kane was 2019.
He's That's what I love about dogs, like they don't
Yeah.
realize the size of them. They're
Oh,
like crawling up in your lap like they're a
yeah,
little
he
baby.
doesn't. He doesn't.
Oh my
Definitely.
God.
But all right. So can you get down now, please? Thank you. You're a
Oh
good
my
boy.
God, Justice, you are beautiful, gorgeous. This is a Bernese mountain
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It's so
hmm
beautiful.
And Kane is under the table by my feet.
Oh, okay, well, we'll try to get a glimpse of him
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But they were both adopted in 2018. Just
No, Kane was in 19.
Oh,
Justice
2019.
in 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I made a
Mm-hmm.
little mistake in that. Okay, so it
That's
was
okay.
during Canine Global Rescue, their trip in 2019, that they
Correct.
they were
April
able to.
30th was the day that Kane was rescued, 2019, and then he arrived at July 2nd to my home. Well, we went and picked him up at the airport. July,
Wow.
yeah,
And you know that's it's going to be a historical trip because it's being captured in a movie called Dog War. That trip they did in
yeah,
2019, Canine Global Rescue,
that's
they're
right.
the
Yeah.
focus of a film called Dog War.
Hmm.
And I have the good news that it's almost at the point that it's going to be released.
I know.
And
That's great.
so exciting. So,
Yes, yes.
so you hear about this, you make a very quick, impulsive decision to adopt a Smiley in
Mhm.
2014. But let's be clear that you were already involved in animal rescue at the time because you were working for Guardians of Rescue in New York. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. Guardians of Rescue is a rescue organization in the U.S. And they also worked with my local shelter here. So
Right.
that was like their physical shelter. So yeah, I would help with local stuff, fundraisers, bringing dogs food, for
Okay.
people that couldn't afford,
Looking
um,
after them.
walking dogs, they also they worked with reuniting soldiers with their dogs from
Oh.
Afghanistan for a period of time. So that was one of my first exciting things that I did. It was like going to Disney World for me. I was invited to go to the airport to pick up dogs from Afghanistan, and
Ah.
um, it was like, yeah, it was really another life-changing moment. I mean, dogs they always make such an impression on us, I feel like,
Yeah.
special
Connection.
experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, connections, which I did connect with those dogs. I would walk them and,
And these dogs
um,
had gone to war. They were like canine, officers, if you will. Is that the case?
well,
Or
they were no, they were actually, they were they. I don't. The soldiers would just reach out to Guardians of Rescue and say they bonded with a dog.
oh,
Yeah. So,
okay. While
and
they
then
were in Afghanistan.
yeah,
Okay, I get
they
it.
were reunited. So there was a little bit of knowledge I had about, dogs coming from other,
From a
countries.
foreign country.
Yeah, but I mostly did local stuff with them. At the time, they weren't involved with the dog meat trade.
Yeah.
Um, until I got Smiley. That was
That was the
another,
wake up call, I guess.
yeah. Then
And you had
then
started with, sorry, you started working as a volunteer for Gardens of Rescue in what year? Like, how long ago?
that was probably about 2000. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact year. I'm gonna guess here. Um, 12,
Okay,
2000.
so about two
So
years.
I worked with them, yeah, and then I got involved in 2000, right 2015, like January is when um, the founder of Guardians, agreed to do this, and I
To open
would,
up an international division and
yeah,
help dogs from the meat trade. Okay.
yeah. I mean, after we talked about it, and then he talked to Nami some,
Yeah.
we worked out something where we wanted to help her, and of course she wanted the help too.
Well,
So
she wanted to get her dogs adopted, and you were a
yeah,
great help for that. And
oh yeah,
so you were heading that international division as we talked about that.
yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
a
That
big
was,
responsibility, but you had already a connection with NAMI.
yeah.
And during that time, I'm assuming you probably reached out to other nonprofits in Korea and Asia.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can
We
you tell us a little bit more about the other ones that you were helping?
in South Korea.
Or in Asia in general, like you would your job was to bring these dogs to the United States to be adopted, right?
Yeah. Well, we did that through NAMI. So
Oh,
so
okay. It was strictly with
NAMI,
Safe Korean Dogs. Okay.
Yeah, we helped her for about a year and a half. We worked with her and we took, I'm going to say maybe like 60 dogs from her, or,
Wow.
and before they came, I would find adopters by posting on Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's one good thing Facebook is good for, right?
Absolutely.
Was this,
Great
I mean,
way to connect.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would reach out to rescue organizations in the US and see if anyone would be interested in working through guardians and um, taking dogs and
Yeah.
from South Korea and adopting them out. And 99% of the people I spoke to were all for it. They were honored to do so.
No.
And it was always a very special experience because they had never done it before. And it was
Yeah.
like this, it's just really an awesome feeling to be involved instead of crying on the couch because you're so
I
overwhelmed
know.
with sadness. And that's what I used to do when I first found out. It
Yeah.
was, what can I do? I'm so far away.
That's
But
it. That's it.
but there are things you can do. I mean, I learned that.
Well, you're a
Um,
fine example of that. And I think part of the reason why I started the podcast is I wanted to, first of all, learn about the issue because there's a lot of misinformation out there on the
yeah.
internet. And I still had so many questions that were left unanswered. Like I looked on the internet, but often like there's not a clear answer to what I'm wondering, like why the torture? How long has this been going on? What's the history? Every country is unique. South Korea is a good example because they are the only country in the world that systematically farms dogs. They
Yes.
breed and farm dogs for their meat. And
Yes.
that's very unique. Whereas China and other countries, it's more strays and stolen pets that make up the
Mhm.
trade. And so all these things I was very curious about, like, if we want to find a solution, it's so important to understand the problem, right? And
Absolutely.
so also another aspect of the podcast is to find is to expose ways that we can help because often we feel powerless, and
Yes.
we're on this side of the ocean, we're like 15, 7,000 miles away, and we're like, what can we really do?
Exactly.
And you've done many of these things: volunteer, adopt, foster, share.
Yep.
Educate people, educate your
Mhm.
community.
Yes.
And so, yeah, great example today that we have with you.
Thank you.
And so your husband is obviously, your family must have been always in love with dogs. You already had dogs in your home.
Yes.
So you've loved animals your whole life. Can we say
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yes. I would definitely say that. Going back to when I was a kid, I mean, I was an animal lover.
Yeah, you had
You
dogs
know.
growing up.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I did. And my family, I mean, we did this together. I could not do this alone. Like, it was like, it's a big responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's a commitment. And I couldn't do it unless my family was on board. And they
And
were.
thank God for that because
Yeah.
I am in a situation where I learn about this cause. I'm very implicated in animal rights,
Hmm.
but my husband not so much. It's not
Okay.
that he doesn't love animals, but he is not, he doesn't want to see the cruelty. He doesn't want to hear about it. He's just like, I'm in my bubble. I don't want to hear about it. And
I don't blame them.
my
But
goal in life is to adopt a survivor like you did,
mhm.
because I cannot think of a better way of helping, first of all, and of having that feeling that you're transforming a life. You're showing love and affection to a dog that's never known anything but suffering.
Yes.
And obviously, we have a lot of dogs here in my country of Canada that are victims of cruelty. But, because this cause has hit home so much, I
Hmm.
just would I would think it would be a great thing to do. And my
Yeah.
husband, he's not exactly on board, so I mean, I have to work on him. But it's
All right.
great that your
I'm sure
family
you
was
will.
supportive of this decision of
Yes,
yours.
I
So,
am very thankful for that.
yeah,
Because it is my passion. It's not their passion.
yeah,
They're, animal lovers, but
not to the same degree.
yeah, as far as the activity goes, but they love the dogs, were all committed to the dogs. They understood, you know, the situation and
Yeah.
how we had to accept them, and just have patience. And yeah, they've been great. They're in love with my dogs now.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
our dogs. I said my dogs.
I wanted to just discuss the three dogs separately. So we would start with Smiley. And so you told me that you first heard about Smiley through a Facebook post from Nami Kim.
Yeah.
So you made the decision very quickly to adopt him. And how was the adoption process like from the moment you asked if he was available to the time that he was actually flown to you? How did that work out? Like, what was the time frame like? What, like, was the
It,
communication very good and transparent and clear? And you were mainly communicating with Nami Kim?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She talked English, so
Yeah, she speaks English.
she speaks English, and we were on the phone or emailing, communicating. So, and also, another rescue was involved actually with the dogs coming here because four dogs came. Smiley was one of them.
Okay.
So during our communication with Nami and myself, um, she had said that a New York rescue reached out to her in the interim
Oh,
called Posh Pets.
yes.
And I had never heard of them. They're more like closer to the city.
Okay.
So she said that they wanted to take some dogs. So she said we could put Smiley with that group. So she
Mm,
connected me and this woman. So the timing was unbelievable. It was great because I was thinking I was doing this on my own, whether it's
yeah.
a flight volunteer that would help or just cargo. My dog would just fly here, cargo. So um, Linda with Posh Pets helped a lot, so I started talking to her and we arranged it, and this wasn't new to her. So she
Oh.
helped out a lot.
She had
Um,
done this before.
Yeah, she had done this, I want to say from Thailand, she took dogs.
Ah, from
And
Soy
never,
Dog, maybe?
yeah, maybe, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it
it would
was.
make sense because they're the
Yeah,
primary
yeah, it
rescue.
was. So yeah, so she said, I'd be more than happy to include Smiley and, the group that's coming. And
Wow.
so, yeah, because at the time, Guardians, they didn't even know, because this happened so fast. They didn't even know that I had, committed to Smiley and was doing this until it was pretty much done. Then I spoke to Guardians and told him about it. But as far as the help that was available to me, I appreciated it, and I took her up on that. So that's how we transported Smiley through that rescue.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you inquired in October, and by the time you saw Smiley, how long, was it the same year?
It might have been September. It might have been September that I
Okay.
first. I know I told you October, but I think it was more like
Okay.
September with Smiley, and then um, November 18th is when he actually came to New York.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
At JFK Airport,
yeah,
Posh Rescue? Is that what they're called?
it's Posh Pets Rescue.
Posh
Yeah.
Pets. So they were there in charge of, like, were you there at the airport with them, or?
No, I didn't. I didn't go to the airport. I went to the rescue. When
Okay.
they got back.
Right,
So,
right. And so he arrived with three others from
yeah,
Nam Kim
yeah,
on November 18th of 2014. You bring back your little Smiley, and you had prepared your family.
mhm.
When you said you asked Nami Kim about the health questions, because it turns out that Smiley, you told me he had heartworm
Yeah.
disease, but Nami was not aware of it.
No,
Yeah.
She wasn't aware. So, if she was, he wouldn't have even been able to fly because they don't like to fly
No,
dogs
that's
on the
right.
dangerous, you know. But he did it. Um, and yes, so I found that out when I took him to the vet when I got him here that
Oh.
he came up positive.
Because
So,
I'm not familiar with heartworm disease, but I did look it up quickly, and it says it can take 6 to 7 months
yeah,
for it to show signs in a dog. So it's possible that obviously Nami didn't know.
yeah.
But if she, or can you tell us a little bit more about that disease and its consequences on the health, and if there's any treatment?
Well, there is treatment, and it's pretty it's a very serious treatment. It takes about 6 months to, you retest the dog after 6 months. But the dogs, they get very tired when they have heartworm. They actually get bit by a mosquito, and that's how they get the heartworm.
Yeah,
Um, and it could cause blood clots in the lungs, the heart, arteries, and
it's a
a dog.
parasite, right? It affects the lungs. It's kind of a parasite.
Yeah, well, yeah, but there are worms,
Yeah,
adult worms
yeah.
that actually, go around the heart. It's really disgusting, but
Mm.
um, so it's a dangerous disease and it affects them in a negative way. Some dogs, recover and they're great. Some dogs have scar tissue on their lungs. They have, like Smiley got from that. He developed chronic bronchitis that
Yeah.
was induced by the heartworm. Um, and I found that out after he was tested negative. He developed a cough, and we
Ah,
did some testing where they went down and into the lungs and took a biopsy to see if there was a parasite or something, even from Korea. It could have been
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um, but it wound up being induced chronic bronchitis from the heartworm.
Mm.
But the heartworm, it's injections. It's 2 injections over a course of a couple of days, and they have to stay very still, during the whole time that the worms are dying off.
Uh,
Um,
Not easy. Sometimes some dogs, you say they're fatigued. That's one of the side
yeah,
effects. But some dogs might not be as fatigued, so it might be hard to keep
yeah,
them still.
yeah. Smiley was kind of he wasn't an active dog. He just kind of wanted to relax all the time.
Oh,
Um,
what a cutie.
so it wasn't really difficult keeping Smiley.
Still.
Yeah,
Just come and sleep, Smiley.
he liked to sleep.
But
Yeah,
I guess the winter would make it exacerbate the
yeah.
cough and, that kind of
Yes,
thing.
every winter it got worse.
Yeah.
So for that, luckily I have a holistic vet along with my conventional vet.
Yeah.
And my holistic vet recommended a naturally derived cor- cortisone, yeah,
Oh,
instead
yes.
of prednisone, because prednisone you can't really, it's not good for them,
All right.
especially long term.
Got some really bad side effects. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was put on this naturally derived cortisone.
From
Um,
yams, I think you told
yeah,
me.
from yams. Isn't that amazing? See,
That
so
is
I learned that
amazing.
too. Yeah, thank God though for that
Yeah.
because he did have to be on it for long term.
That's it.
Um, it still does have side effects, but not as bad, and it takes longer.
Okay.
So and he had to take an inhaler every day too. I had to get like this. It's a chamber, and there's a thing that you attach to the dog's nose
Wow.
and puff, and
How
I
many
would have
times a day? Like,
twice a day,
oh, wow.
twice a day. So every winter it got worse. It got a little better in the summer, but he would cough every day. It was just that in the winter it got worse,
Oh,
you know.
wow.
So, in December of 2018, when Smiley passed away, it was due to this illness that he had. And, it had gotten progressively worse over some weeks. And eventually nothing works anymore. you know,
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, at that point, he would have been 12 years old,
about
about.
11 or 12. Yeah, because you never know exactly how
No,
old.
you never
That
know,
was
but
the-
so yeah, so I guess with the age too, it didn't help him, and with time, our own immune system like starts to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
affected and impacted. So unfortunately, Smiley did pass away, but you had 4 years with him, like pretty much 4 years. So
Yeah.
and he changed a lot of things, and I was curious to hear because he was one of the first ambassadors of the cause, really, in the United States. You were one of the first ones to adopt one,
No
a
doubt.
survivor. Were you, I'm just curious if you were asked to do interviews about the cause, with Smiley. I mean, did it solicit some newspaper, no,
No,
like media?
no, no, it didn't.
But the
Yeah.
community around you, they probably heard about the cause through you and Smiley, right? So,
Oh, yeah. I told everybody. I was happy to tell everybody, that met Smiley, even
yeah.
family members. A lot of family members don't know about the
Oh,
dog meat
absolutely
thing.
not. Yeah.
And yeah, so I shared his story with everybody that I met. I mean,
Wow. And what was the reaction like when you were walking with Smiley and people would hear that he was a dog meat trade survivor? Like, what's the reaction? Back then, it was even less known, right?
I
So,
know.
yeah,
It was shock. People would say, "Oh my God."
it's
You
horrible.
know, yeah, some people would not know about it, and some people would say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that. That's terrible. That's a nice thing that you did."
Yeah.
And I would always get into a conversation with people about it, and that was another part of
Your
adopting a
advocacy.
dog,
Yeah.
is that you get to tell more people and so on and so on,
Yeah.
and that's how people either get involved or adopt themselves. So it's like
Yeah.
a domino effect of positive um, results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
He was
so
an advocate, an ambassador, like we say, for the cause. So that was
definitely.
amazing. And so you already had like how many dogs at your home when you introduced Smiley?
I had a big German Shepherd named Teddy who
Oh,
passed away.
yeah, we have pictures of Teddy, so we're going
Yeah,
to be showing them.
he's a gentle giant. He was, and
Wow.
I had Ace, who was a flat-coated retriever. Both very big dogs, but
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned about them because of the way they were. Like, I was more concerned about how Smiley would react to them.
Okay.
Because I didn't
Yeah.
know Smiley. Um,
So they
you
were
know,
gentle giants.
yeah, my dogs were gentle giants. I wasn't concerned about them. And Smiley did do his, introduction growl when we came in.
Yeah.
But he let them know, he didn't want to be bothered, which he didn't. He really never wanted to be bothered to
Hmm.
play or.
Was he a specific breed or he was a mix, I guess?
He
Smiley?
was a Brittany Spaniel mix. That's
Ah.
what I was told. Whether he was yeah, he was mixed. I don't know with what. I don't know. But yeah. So
And the first time you brought him home, what was like, how did you make the introduction with your other dogs? Like, did you have to keep them at bay or for a certain
well,
time?
yeah, I mean, I didn't want them to get too close,
Yeah.
because again, I was having his, some tests done. I had just brought him from the vet, so I wanted to make sure he didn't have anything
Yeah.
contagious. So I let them meet, and again, because I knew how my dogs were, I brought Smiley right in my house. If
Mm,
my dogs are not good with other dogs, we
yeah.
do it outside, like on the street, on neutral ground. But
Yeah.
I knew it wouldn't be a problem. But,
Okay.
I let them meet quick, and then I kind of separated them and kept it like that for like a week.
Yeah, that's probably
So,
smart.
yeah, just
They
before I
get
got
used to
my
the
results.
scent of the new dog and like, the idea of having a new family member.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it was new to me. That was my first one. So
Yeah.
I was extra cautious, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, now when I brought Justice home, I had Smiley at the time, and I didn't do that. I just let them. I had more experience, you know.
Yeah, and you felt it was safe and there was
Yeah,
not going to
well,
be a
because
problem.
he was young, and
Yeah.
he was a puppy, and Smiley was not. I was not concerned about. So yeah, I just, you know, I in my backyard.
A big, big furry family.
Yeah, yeah,
And can we just quickly, Teddy, it's Teddy, right? The German
yeah,
Shepherd? And
yeah.
Ace. Do they come from a cruelty background? Like, did you adopt them from a local shelter? What was their story?
Well, Teddy, we adopted from people that no longer wanted to take care of him because he had skin issues and allergies and stuff. So I have a friend who does German Shepherd Rescue who had adopted out already two other German Shepherds to us
Ah,
over the years. So she brought him to our attention, and I figured out what his allergies were. I got him the appropriate help, you know,
yeah.
thanks to the holistic vet, and he, you know, he was fine. The allergies were taken care
Okay.
of.
At this point, I have to ask you, can we talk about the name of your vet, your holistic vet? Because it might be a great
Oh yeah.
resource for others.
Yes, it's Smith Ridge Vet in Salem, New York. Smith
Okay.
Ridge.
Okay, and we're going to write that in the podcast. So if
Yes,
anyone
I
wants to have an
appreciate that.
alternative way of treating your dog
Yes.
um,
Thank
holistically,
you. Thank you. Yes, because she
yeah.
helped us a lot. That you know
And
with different
uh,
options.
you were referred to her as it's a she?
Yeah, my doctor is a she,
It's
Doctor.
a she. It's a woman. Okay. We're talking about animals, but
That's gross talk.
okay. And you were referred to her, or you just discovered her on your own?
I did. I discovered her by trying to figure out Teddy's problem.
Hmm.
I came across Dr. Martin Goldstein. He's got a book, The Nature. Shoot, I forget the name of it, but
Martin Goldstein. Okay, he's a
Martin
veterinarian.
Goldstein,
Okay.
and it talked about this was actually his vet's office. He doesn't work there anymore. He retired, but I wound up calling them, having a phone interview with them, and it's really that was another great change that I am so fortunate, you know, to
Yes.
have because I learned a lot about vaccinations, and that's a whole nother story. But you know, it's just good to know. So I'm glad that you asked for the name.
Yes, and is it? It's not necessarily more costly than a regular vet, right?
No,
Uh,
no,
and
no.
so it might be actually less expensive depending on the treatment that they recommend. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I mean, we
Yeah.
all know, like, I spend a lot of money at my vet's office. I have two cats, and let me tell you, between
Oh,
the
I know.
food, between that and the, during the summer, the tick treatments and the vaccinations, I mean, yeah, like a lot of
Yeah,
money goes there.
yeah, I know.
So that's great. And so now, if we, I just want to see if I have any other questions for Smiley because, so yeah, so you basically, the whole family, I mean, I imagine you have children at home?
Well, my sons are older.
Okay. So
So
when you
when
brought Smiley, they were living with you or they were not living at home?
one of my sons,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, he was about 24, 23 at the time.
And did he take to Smiley immediately?
Smiley was my son John was Smiley's second mom. I always said that because
Yes.
he had to do, you know, he would do the inhaler for me, give him medicine if I wasn't home at the time, you know. And Smiley loved him. So
Good
yeah, my son,
energy.
huh?
Good energy because, often I feel animals have a sixth sense. They definitely feel energy even more than us.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so when somebody has good, vibes,
yeah,
then the animal usually is not, like gonna back away.
exactly.
It's gonna,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So at this point, let's talk about Justice because that was your second dog meat trade survivor that you adopted. And how did you hear about him and his story?
Well,
And
we
this
had,
was in 2018 at this point, so like 4 years later, I suppose.
yes.
Yeah.
So we had lost Teddy to cancer, unfortunately, in February of 2018.
Oh,
Um, so um, my husband decided he wanted a Bernese Mountain Dog. We both did, really, because our neighbor has one, and we had never seen that dog
yeah.
before that. And I was like, that's such a,
Gorgeous dog. Yeah.
it was like a bear. I didn't even know what kind of dog it was.
I
But
know.
anyway, we said, why don't we try to find a rescue, like a Bernese
Yeah.
Mountain Dog? So I tried. It's very hard. The
Yeah.
only, it's really not
They're not the
easy.
most popular in shelters.
No, no. But one day I had mentioned it to a Korean rescue, Last Chance for Korean Dogs.
Okay.
Um, actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's take that out
Okay.
because I didn't mention it. All right.
Okay. Okay. There are the organization that you stop working with, type of thing.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we won't. I'll cut it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as me saying that's who I got him from, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
But I won't ask you about the affiliation with like Canine Global Rescue. But
no.
if we can talk about who rescued Justice and how you heard about him. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yes.
Okay.
So, I would help a rescue. I became, of course, being involved in it, I got to know some Korean rescues
Yeah.
in Korea, and I would help them out by sharing posts to try to get dogs adopted and whatever. So I would do that for Last Chance for Korean Dogs.
Okay.
So she did not know that we were looking for a dog. I never
Okay.
told her, and we really weren't looking. It was kind of like if I see one, we'll rescue it. The
Yeah.
Bernese
You
dog,
weren't like actively seeking.
Yeah, and because my husband wanted that. This was the first time he ever really. I mean, I'm usually the one who says, "I want that dog. I want."
Yeah. No,
But
he took the initiative.
so one day, I got a message from the woman Soné who works with Last Chance for Korean Dogs.
Okay.
I got a message, and it was a picture of a Bernese Mountain Dog puppy that was like 2 months old.
Oh my God.
And he said, would you like to adopt him? And I never mentioned to her
Wow.
anything about adopting even. That's Justice right now. Um,
He's
but,
like, we're talking about me. Hello.
yeah. So I was very taken back.
Yeah.
And I showed my husband the picture, and
That is
he,
weird.
yeah, he was like, did you tell her? And I said, no, I didn't. And I never even saw a Bernese Mountain Dog in Korea.
So
Like,
it was put out in the universe, and the universe answered you.
well, whatever it was,
Yeah.
call it, God knew what we wanted. He
Yeah.
knew we wanted to rescue one. And,
Oh.
it kind of fell in my lap,
Yes.
So, we
You're like,
had a
yeah, sure, I'll adopt him.
yeah, we had a short discussion, and I said to her, sure, we'll adopt them. And so that's how that happened. And we got, Justice came with a flight volunteer that Last Chance for Korean Dogs
Had
coordinated.
organized.
Um,
And do you know what his story was? Like, how did they find him? Was he on a farm or?
no, he wasn't on a farm. They rescued him from actually a shelter that they work with, but where he came from was what they called like a pet shop.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a puppy store, but not for, pets. Obviously they were being sold, for meat, these stores,
Oh my God,
which I had
really?
never heard of before, like a pet shop, a pet store that has puppies, but,
People would buy them for their meat?
Yeah,
Oh my
that's what
God.
I was told that this place where he was rescued from, there was many deceased dogs. Um, and it was a very bad scene. I saw pictures. She sent me pictures, and Justice was one of like two, I believe, that were alive in there.
Oh my
So that
God.
was the circumstances he was rescued from, and then
Wow.
so the thing is as you know, big dogs are meat dogs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Justice is about 120 pounds right
He
now.
would have been a prime candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, Justice would have ended up in the hands of somebody who wanted him for meat. So, you know, yeah, big dogs need homes in the U.S. Big dogs,
Absolutely,
you know.
because they're not really safe in Korea.
No,
Uh, even though the pet industry has really picked up quite a bit in Korea and other parts of Asia like Vietnam, it's become
yeah,
quite a big lucrative business, if you
yeah,
will. But
yeah.
it's mostly smaller dogs, as I understand, in South Korea as well, like more like smaller pets.
You mean that they have as pets?
Yes, yes, like the
Yeah,
Korean
yeah.
population that adopt a dog to keep as a pet, it's usually a
They're
smaller
small.
breed, yeah.
Yeah,
So the big dogs, like the Tosas especially, those are
yeah,
very much part of the meat industry,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
Big dogs.
yeah. In the Jindo.
Even the Jindo, which is really ironic because I think the Jindo is supposed to be the
Yeah.
mascot of South Korea, and they're
Isn't that a
slaughtering it.
contrast? Isn't that a contrast? I
Uh,
mean,
Big
you know,
contrast.
yeah.
But no dog is really safe. And
No.
so you heard about Justin, he was just a puppy, like just a few months old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you quickly, the flight was pretty quickly organized and,
Well, he had to be a certain age to travel, so we had to wait, when we had to wait to find a flight volunteer. So maybe like 3 months later is when he came to New York.
wow,
I think it was May, um,
of
sometime in May.
2018.
Yes.
And this
Yeah.
time around, were you at the airport or you met them at the rescue shelter?
No, we went to the airport. We went to the airport, and the flight volunteer gave us our dog,
Wow.
So,
Oh, yes, because it was a fly volunteer. It was not like
yeah.
an organization here. Okay.
Right, right. So
Ah,
he
wow.
was just basically handed off, and I had to sign papers.
Wow. And was
So,
he really afraid? I mean, I can imagine traveling on an airplane. It's a little bit,
um, I'm sure he was, but he didn't show it. He was a
no?
puppy, and he's a very happy dog. I mean,
Wow.
he's the happiest dog I've ever met in my life.
Well, we
I,
just saw him earlier and he looks
yeah,
pretty happy. Of course,
yeah.
that's after years of spending his time with you, but still, some dogs, depending, even dogs rescued from the meat trade, some dogs are very traumatized, and
Oh,
it might be
yeah,
for life. And other
yeah.
dogs, they really bounce back very quickly. It really depends.
Well, Justice, he's a happy dog, but he does have some it takes him a while to warm up to men.
Ah,
Um,
mm,
you know,
not
and
surprising.
yeah, so and also like he doesn't like if he's laying down and you walk by him too close, like he like freaks out like a little bit, like every time.
Oh,
He's
wow.
never gotten used to that. Like I don't know what
Wow.
that's all about, but it's something we don't like. We used to jump when he did it, because he would be like he'd make like a noise, like not a
Yeah,
growl, but like
startled. He would be
startled.
startled,
Yeah.
yeah.
So some dogs have no issues, some dogs have minor, and some
Yeah,
dogs, depending on their experience and, if they've been abused or what they've been
yeah.
through. Um, one dog I had to work with for months when Guardians of Rescue, we were taking dogs from Korea. Some of them that were a little older, like a
Yeah,
year old, were very scared. And I would go to the shelter and sit in the, cage with them and on the ground.
yeah.
with food and try to get them to come to me. So, you know, you need patience with some of these dogs.
Absolutely, and that's a good point that you make because I'm a volunteer for Humane Society International here in Canada,
Hmm.
and I did get to work with some dogs that they rescued from South Korea.
Okay.
And I'm a junior volunteer, so like they wouldn't ask us, but the senior staff that have a lot of experience, they would always go in the crate and just like sit
Yes,
there, not touch the dog, but let the dog come
that's
to
right.
them
Yeah.
and just get the dog used to human presence and that
Yeah.
it's not to be feared and to
Right.
get the dog used to having a
Trust.
calm, human presence, to learn to trust again.
Yeah.
And I witnessed firsthand one of these staff members go in one of the cages, I guess more like a cage, with the dog. And she said he was one of the dogs that was most antisocial. He was very afraid of touch. He would always careen
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
And I saw it firsthand. Like she sat there and he came to her. And
Yes.
I wish I could have videotaped it, but they don't allow cameras. But I got to see it, and it was so special. Like he came to her, and she was able to pet him for the first
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That's what you want.
That's what
And
you want.
sometimes that takes
Yeah,
weeks, months,
yeah.
you know?
You have to be patient. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
be understanding that these dogs need to, first of all, decompress when they're
Yeah.
flown.
Yeah.
They arrive in a new family, new environment. They don't know that they can trust this. And, so
Yeah.
you need to be very patient. But you obviously are.
Definitely.
So Justice, he came, and like you said earlier, you didn't have the same, I guess, concerns as you did with Smiley. So he quickly fit in the family and he interacted with your dogs pretty well.
Well, yeah. It was just Smiley because,
Oh,
Teddy had
Teddy had
passed away.
passed away. That's right.
Which, by the way, Ace I had adopted from my local shelter by me volunteering there. I met Ace, and
Ah,
he was a puppy. So I don't think I answered you before when you asked me about Ace. So I just wanted to.
yes. And so Ace wasn't there when Justice came, or?
Um, no, not when Justice came. I see. It's been such a short amount of time.
Yeah, a lot of dogs.
Dogs that I have to think the year and which dog was with. No, but no, it was Smiley.
Okay. Ace
Just
passed away
Smiley.
as well, I guess.
Huh?
Did Ace pass away as well, or?
Yes. He
Uh,
did. Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
And was it like cancer like Teddy, or was it something else, or?
It was like a cancer in the blood. I forget what it was called, but
Okay.
again, it was something that my holistic vet picked up and treated him with the natural prednisone for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, Ace was the first one to have it. So,
Wow. But at
yeah,
one point, I mean, he died at what age?
he was only 8 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
You never
So,
know, eh? And some people are like so fearful of adopting a dog like from China, and they're like, oh my God, like you spend all this money because it does cost more
yeah,
than your typical dog. But
yeah,
they're like, and then he ends up dying. But I'm like, you never know, like you can pick up a dog
no,
at a shelter nearby, and he could also
yeah,
have health complications. And
yeah,
I really think the message that I hear from you is that, as long as you love and, care for this dog, whether he lives to be, 12, 15 years old or 8, as long as he dies knowing he was loved, I mean, that's the most
yeah,
important part, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and, I mean, I'm sure they're in a better place, and that's what I always say to people that lose family members, especially. I'm like, the only comfort that we can have is knowing that they are in a better place and they're no
yeah,
longer suffering, so
yes, that's
so
true.
that's a good way of trying to make peace with that.
Yes, it
um
is.
So Justice was a little puppy, came into your life, and he's still with you because we just saw him. And
Yeah.
at this point, he's just like 2 years old, about
He
like.
just turned 3 years old.
And he's so big. Is that the most he's gonna big as he's gonna get, right? So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think I heard because I had a family dog growing up, and it was a Great Dane. But
Hmm.
I asked a recent guest, I'm like, how like a dog will reach their full size before a year old. I think usually that's the when you're
About, yeah.
yeah, at about a year old, that's the
Hmm.
full matured size, if you will.
Yeah.
And which is why in South Korea they usually slaughter them at about 9 months old, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they've reached pretty much their full size. So
Exactly. Yeah.
and so now if we can move on to Kane, because Kane, he's the dog that was rescued from a dog meat farm closure that was done by Canine Global Rescue. I believe
Yes.
it was in April of 2019.
Yes.
Yeah,
April 30th.
because I've
Hmm.
seen like on Facebook, Canine Global Rescue, they have a page. Obviously, they have a website, and I saw a lot of pictures from April
Yeah.
2019, and the documentary footage also is from that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna obviously showcase a little video clip of Kane because when he was first rescued, he had what we call frog feet. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. They nicknamed him Frogfoot because he grew up in a cage on a dog farm.
Yeah,
So they don't walk on solid ground. It's
no.
like, hard for them to stand. So they grow like that. They grow
Hmm.
like that. So, but he's got the cutest legs and feet I've ever seen in my life. I
Yeah?
mean, yeah, they're really cute. I
Ha-
you have pictures, so
yeah, but I mean, what did the oh yes, like,
he's
if we can
coming.
get
Yeah.
a little
Come here,
glimpse of
baby. That's
oh my
cute.
God, this is beautiful Kane.
Let me see. Hey, 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 come here, babe.
Oh, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh my God.
That's
Look at that face.
cute. He's
Do you
beautiful.
know what kind of dog he is?
He's a Jindo. He's a Brindle.
Oh,
Brindle
wow.
is his coloring. Let me see. How
He's
to?
a Jindo, but I'm used to Jindos that are white, but they
Yeah,
have
wow.
different types of Jindos.
Yes.
And the feet are still a bit of a problem, eh? So he still kind of walks like this.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to affect him. I mean, he runs
Yeah.
so fast,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, he runs
So
so
it's
fast.
not phasing him at all, and it's really it's important for. I'm sure viewers know this, but dogs that are farmed for their meat in South Korea, they grow up in a wire cage. There's no flooring,
Right.
and the idea is that they're bred in those cages, they are raised in those cages, they never get a walk outside, like they never have any exercise.
Yeah.
They are very poorly fed, like they're
Yeah.
fed compost, what we call compost, like
Yeah.
food waste,
Yeah.
and not even water.
I
No
know.
water. The farmers basically add water to the mix of
Yeah.
sludge, and they
Yeah.
feed that twice a day. So these
That's right.
dogs are extremely malnourished.
Yes.
Often, like they have health, side effects because they're fed like stuff that they should never eat.
Yeah.
Kimchi, all this pickled stuff, garbage,
Yeah.
essentially. And so, yeah, wire cages, it's really bad for their feet. It creates a lot of sores,
Yeah.
painful sores, and it's just really horrific and really horrific. And
Yeah.
so
Everything
Kane
about
luckily was rescued and he wasn't too old. I think he was just like a little puppy, right?
he was like 6 or 7 months old.
Oh,
When
okay,
he was
okay. I thought he
rescued.
was even younger than that.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
again, he could be maybe 5 months.
okay,
That's
but it
what
was not like a 2 month old. It was like,
No,
okay,
no.
he was a little bit older.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the story of this farm? Like, how did Canine Global Rescue engage the farmer, and how did they manage to get him to, you know?
Well, it was brought to their attention when they were on a trip there in South Korea. And Canine Global never pays for,
No.
they never pay for dogs because that's just enabling them
Yeah,
to
it's
continue.
fueling the trade, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so they successfully, you know, just
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is, did they try to help the farmer transition into another business, or did they just, like, how did they get him to kind of, are you,
you know,
if you're not aware, it's fine.
yeah, no, but I
Like,
don't know. Listen, but you could, I guess, cut this part out.
oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know specific details. I just know that the guy didn't want the farm anymore, so he
Ah.
just wanted John to take the dogs. Do you want me to say that?
Yeah, okay. So we'll start back again, and I'll say, so, like, at this point, were they able to transition the farmer into another business, or was it the case that the farmer was just like willing to give up his dogs?
Yeah, he just wanted to get rid of the dogs, and from what I understand now, there's vegetables growing in that field because Canine Global demolished it. The farm, the dog
Ah,
farm is gone permanently, and that's a beautiful thing.
yeah. Nice
Um,
vegetables instead of sentient beings being butchered up.
yeah,
Quite the transition. And do
yeah,
you know what part of South Korea that was, or
yeah. That was in Wonju.
Wonju?
Wonju.
Yeah, because I had a guest on, I think you know him well, Bob Swenson,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
actually went on that trip
yes.
and helped Canine, well, with the rescued dogs.
Yep.
And he did visit that farm, and at that point, they had planted vegetables, and it was like transformed,
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful region, like a very
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
picturesque.
Yeah. And Bob Metcalf.
Oh, yes, he met him. Wow. He was able to socialize him a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
And so Kane came into your life. How long did it take from? Oh, I know that you told me that at that point you were still mourning the loss of Teddy.
Smiley.
Oh, Smiley. Yes, I apologize. Smiley passed away in December of 2018. And so this was April 2019, and you were still,
Yeah,
grieving.
yeah, that took a toll on me, the loss of Smiley. Not that the others didn't, but because of what Smiley symbolized to me, I
Yeah.
had to, digest a lot. But with his loss, you know, it doesn't mean the end of helping other dogs.
Yeah.
So um, I didn't think I was ready for another dog at the time, but you know, here's now 48 more dogs that need homes that
Uh,
are in South Korea that were rescued from being slaughtered, tortured. And so I again talked about it with my husband, but
but how did you hear about this farm closure? Were you already familiar with Canine Global Rescue?
I volunteer with Canine Global, so
Oh,
yeah, I heard about it directly from that, of course, from
yes.
John. So,
And when you say volunteer, have you made the trip yourself, or in what capacity do you volunteer?
well, I may in the future make the trip.
Yeah.
That's again another big thing, to do, but
Oh, yes. A little bit scary because I
Mhm.
I would like to make the trip myself, because ever since I heard about the cause, it's been all consuming, a bit like
Yeah,
you. And
yeah,
you just want to find all the ways that you can make a difference. And I feel that it's important to, especially me, doing the podcast and all, I've learned a lot, interviewing
mhm.
people that are on the ground that can tell me what's going on. But it's another thing to experience it.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think you cannot buy that kind of experience. You certainly can't get it on social media. And it's something
No,
that
no.
I think it would make, it would be a life enriching experience. It might be difficult. It's not going to be a glamorous trip by any means.
Right.
It's
Right.
going to be hard, but like we talked about with Bob, for people that are thinking of volunteering and making that trip, rest assured that K9 Global Rescue or whatever organization you're volunteering for, they will never put you in harm's way. They will never expose you to, cruelty if you don't want to. Like you don't need
Right.
to be on the farm and seeing dogs being slaughtered.
Exactly.
Your
Right.
job is more to take care of the dogs that were rescued and to socialize them and to learn
Yeah.
a little bit more, what the
Yeah.
situation is in those countries.
Hmm.
So yeah, so as scary as it is, it doesn't have to be that scary.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No. I mean, Canine Global, what I would do for them is whatever they need me to do, whatever,
share
interview
posts. Yeah.
adopters, you know, the applications for adopters, making sure
Mm.
that, people are connected to the right dog, um,
There's a lot that goes on. Yeah, it's not
it is
just
a lot. There's always something that you could help with.
yeah.
Um, so,
So if
yeah.
people are interested, Canine Global Rescue, we'll post the links also. For the show, we'll post like Save Korean Dogs, Canine Global Rescue. I don't know if Last Chance for Korean Dogs still exists or.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So, because I never heard about them, so I'm a little surprised.
Well, they're a rescue group in South Korea. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So we'll try to post
I mean,
some
I
links.
believe they're still active.
Okay. So if anyone's interested in maybe adopting, volunteering, we'll have the links and you can go get some information. It's not most of them have websites. You can apply to be a volunteer. You can apply if you are looking to adopt as
All
well.
right, Jade, I'm sorry, we have to cut that part out about Last Chance for Korean Dogs with the link because I don't,
You don't want the link to be there.
no.
Okay. So I'll just redo
Only
that.
because I don't want people to think that they're working together.
Oh, no,
Last,
no, 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 no
you know what
worries
I'm
about
saying?
that at all. I don't know if it's a big concern. Like, do you feel like you just don't want to mention it?
Um, well, I don't
You'd
know.
rather not promote them. Is that it?
Yes, that's a
Okay,
good way
okay.
to put it
So
because
I'll redo that little bit and I'll
there
say
were some difficult experiences.
exchanges. Okay, not the nicest people, maybe. Okay.
No, just as far as working with John, the little bit they did.
Okay.
They didn't do good by him with some things.
Okay. So what I'll do
So
is
that's
I'll
why
just redo that little bit and I'll leave that out.
I just don't want somebody to contact them about a dog and then come back to you and say, we're interested in this dog with Last Chance for Korean Dogs, and this went wrong and that went wrong.
Yeah, no, no. Okay, I get it. So I'll just redo that part. So,
Okay.
if no problem. And so, I'm waiting for because sometimes my video preview, I'm only seeing myself, and if we're supposed to be side by side. Uh, I don't know.
Um,
I'm thinking you gave me an idea because I downloaded Zoom and I could easily do it in Zoom. So maybe this was like a little video software from people. Okay, we're back. Okay, so okay, so just if anyone at home is interested in maybe doing a volunteer trip or getting more information about adopting a survivor,
yeah.
we'll have the posts, the links to Canine Global Rescue and Safe Korean Dogs in the description box. So you can easily find some information. You can apply on their website if you want to volunteer. Or if you're looking to adopt a dog, they will often have a page dedicated to dogs that are available for adoption.
Hmm.
So, by all means, please feel free to go explore those links. And now, so Kane came into your life. It took, between learning that, there was this dog that had been rescued, You kind of made the decision to adopt him. You showed a picture of him to your husband, and once
Yeah.
again got the ball started.
Yes. Yeah. And we said yes, and then we just went through the process, and he arrived July 2nd.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of like your image is freezing. I don't even know why that is. Like I'm sure you're. Are you? I'm trying to see. You're seeing me right? Like, is it freezing on my end?
No, you're good.
Okay, it's freezing a little bit on your end. Oh, something I forgot to mention is anyone video streaming at your house?
No.
Okay, because when we do a call like this, it's very demanding on the bandwidth. So if anyone's like streaming video on a
No.
computer, okay.
Nope.
I guess, man, this video software, I think I'm gonna change my tactic from now on. Because right now I'm seeing only me, and I'm like wondering if you're still there somehow. It's just a preview or whatever. Okay, so
Hey,
I,
do you want to do it over?
oh no,
Uh,
no, no. Now you're back. Okay, so it's very unpredictable. And my husband, who's a tech, like a techie guy, if you will, he told me, don't bother with the software. It's ridiculous. He showed me there's something called OBS where you can just like, you can also record the call in Skype, that's another option. And my first podcast was with Andy of the film Dog War. And I did record it in Skype. But the only thing I didn't like is that it's a portrait, and I prefer landscape because I'm
okay.
often like moving and portrait,
Yeah.
like half my face is missing. But we seem to be doing better now. So I will try to
Okay.
conclude the podcast.
Okay.
And so Kane, at this point, he's well adapted to your family. He came at JFK once again. Were you there to greet him, or this time around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
So
definitely. Yeah, me and my husband went, and you know, it was he was scared, but he did good. He really did.
and so by the time they closed the farm, or they were able to get those dogs from South Korea, it was April. But by the time they flew here, what was it, a month later? Or?
Yeah, it was July 2nd.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
they had been there in South Korea. I don't think Bob stayed that long, but I guess
No.
they were being cared for by Canine Global Rescue for all those months.
Yeah, they were being boarded, so they were being
Ah,
taken care of, getting their vet care.
yes,
He got neutered there, so it takes some time,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
to stabilize their health. I mean, you can't fly a dog that's sick, obviously,
Right.
so it
Yeah.
does take some time.
Yeah.
So he arrived in July, right in time for the summer.
July 2nd. Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice time, to get a dog because you have to take them out, teach them to go out, how
Absolutely.
to-
And
so
get a routine going. And
yeah.
I don't know if Canine does this, but some other rescue groups, they get them used to a routine, like,
Oh
they feed them at 8 o'clock in the morning, they take them for a walk at
yeah.
this time. And so it's always good when they share that information with you because you can keep up the same routine and make the dog feel more at ease, more
Yeah.
safe, I
Mhm.
imagine. And
Yeah.
so at this point, you have your family consists now of your furry family consists of Kane, Justice, and
That's it.
okay for now. Knowing
Yeah.
you, you're gonna have another one.
Yeah, probably.
And at this point, I would like to take this opportunity because you have a lot of experience adopting a survivor. And for people at home that are thinking about it and that have concerns, what would you say are the top things that prospective families should consider before opening their homes to a survivor, like from the dog meat trade? Um, I guess if they have other pets, whether their pets are good with other dogs, that kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot, there's a lot to consider. First you have to realize it's a serious decision. It's a big responsibility, and everybody has to be on board,
Yeah, yeah,
before
with
you.
no exception.
Yeah, exactly. And then, to the best of your ability, pick a rescue that you could trust and that is doing the right thing, because mistakes, can
Y-
tie things up, whether it be at the airport, transporting, whatever it might be. Also, you want to make sure you're getting the dog that you're being told you're getting the dog, that,
Yes, no
um,
surprises.
right. Like if you have a cat, it's important to know that, you know, the dog that's coming isn't going to tear apart the cat. Like you have to test to the best of your ability
Yeah,
so that it fits, it's, harmonious in your home,
yes,
you know?
absolutely. And some dogs don't like cats or vice versa. Some
Yeah,
cats can't take dogs. So, I mean, yeah, it's a decision that you have to weigh carefully. You have to
yeah,
consider many factors. And
mhm,
one of them is certainly, I guess, a lot of people are concerned about the health aspect. And so that's where a trusted rescue organization comes in.
yeah,
So someone that's going to be honest and transparent with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
hmm,
And
yeah,
that have gone through all the medical vetting, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, those are the important things, that everybody's on board, and that the rescue you're working with, you feel pretty confident in, and
Yeah.
you trust. Um, and you have to be willing to work with the dog, because you might not get a perfect dog.
No.
You might get a dog that needs more patience than you've ever given before.
Yeah.
The time and understanding, just that you might have issues that you have to deal with the dog,
Yeah.
and
Unforeseen issues.
that.
And
Hmm.
I would say, because, me, myself, I have this goal of adopting a survivor. And before the pandemic, it was always a question of my job, like I'm
Yeah,
outside, I'm in an office all day, and I felt like I would have to take a sabbatical or something because, you don't want to bring a dog in that's been so traumatized and leave him at home alone, obviously.
yeah,
Some people might have a family member that's close by that's available so they could help transition them, but that's another area of consideration.
yeah.
Um,
And let me just say that many of the dogs they're fine.
yeah,
They are resilient. Dogs are like, they forget
they are
about,
amazing. It's
they're
amazing.
forgetting.
Their
Yeah,
ability
so,
to forgive, like the
yeah,
humans that
yeah,
abuse them is
yeah.
pretty astonishing. I know for one, I would never forgive. But, we humans, we hold grudges, but dogs, somehow they bounce back very quickly. And so it depends on the dog. And so that's why it's so important to have someone that you trust, that you work with, and that's going to be honest and fully transparent about the dog's behavior, what they've noticed, like
Mhm.
all these things are super important.
Yeah.
And I guess some of the common things to expect from a dog that's been so traumatized. I mean, you seem to have had not too many big issues apart from Smiley being, having heartworm. Did you notice anything that was like a nervous anxiety
Well,
behavior? More with Kane, I
well,
guess. He
well,
was the most.
separation anxiety, they all have. I mean, Smiley had it once they felt comfortable here.
Yeah,
They don't like when, mostly me, when I leave the house,
they have
they,
separation anxiety. Yeah,
yeah, they do. I mean, Kane's not so bad. Smiley was, he
yeah.
would pant and wait for me, and Justice does the same, he like lays right by the front door, but they're not, they're just, nothing major or bad, with them. It's a blessing,
Yeah, it's a
that
blessing. That's
they're
right.
all, they're all very, healthy minded,
And something I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this because, it depends on the rescue and all that. But in terms of cost, like what are people looking at? Because flying a dog from a foreign country across the ocean,
Yeah.
and it entails higher cost than going to your local shelter, I imagine.
Mhm.
Can you talk
Well,
about an average cost?
with the flight volunteer, if you're lucky enough to find one, it's gonna cost maybe $300,
Oh, wow.
and some maybe fees, $50 fees, at the airport. But if you don't have a flight volunteer, it's more expensive based on the weight of the dog too. The
Absolutely.
size of the dog and the crate and everything. So it could range from $600 to $900.
Yeah, it depends on the rescue organization, but that's something I've learned by doing the podcast is that flight volunteers are so help, they're a
Yeah,
huge help.
yeah, it
Uh,
makes it easier.
I think they cut the cost in half in some instances. From
Yeah.
China, I had Animal Hope and Wellness China Shelter, Sukisu, and Dr. Barbara Jennifer Gitlitz, and she's on the board of directors at Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation here in California.
Hmm.
But they said how important it was to have flight volunteers. And Bob Swenson, that I had on the podcast, he was a flight volunteer for Soy Dog. And it's great. Like, if you're someone who travels a lot, it's
Yeah.
so great. It's such an
Oh,
easy way to
yeah.
help because you can just apply and say, listen, I'm going to be, flying back from China on this date if you have a dog, and you have nothing to do. I
Exactly.
mean, they will bring you the dog. The dog's already in the crate. You just have to
Yeah.
say, "This is my dog," and that's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a great way to help,
It makes it easier for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the costs are not that daunting. I mean, frankly, I would spend upwards of thousands of dollars, frankly, to have that experience of transforming a
Hmm.
life. I mean,
Absolutely.
this is not your typical situation. These
No.
dogs have suffered greatly, and if you can find it in your heart and you have the means, because there is a certain amount of like income that you need because these dogs might have health complications, so you might need to visit the vet office a little bit more often, but in some cases not. So it's really,
Yeah, well, majority of them have not. I mean,
yeah.
heartworm was, uh, sometimes the dog would get the heartworm in South Korea, and they would treat the dog there, and it would be fine. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
Smiley was an exception where, he
You,
he
they,
got,
it was not detected in South Korea.
yeah, and,
That's
and
it.
he developed the chronic.
Bronchitis from it. Yeah,
Well, I don't know how long he had the heartworm either. So the longer you have it, the more damage it does.
absolutely.
Um, so I don't think I told you Smiley's story. I think I wanted to ask you, you might cut this out,
Yeah.
but um, regarding how Nami rescued him, did we go over that?
Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, so what I could do is you can tell me and I'll cut it in at the beginning. I'll
Okay.
put it back at the beginning when we were
All right.
talking about him. Okay, so go ahead. So Smiley, you heard about him. You saw this picture from Nami Kim, but what was his story? Like, how did she find him? Was he rescued from a farm?
No, he was actually a stolen pet. Um, Many of these dogs that become victim of the dog meat trade are stolen pets. So, yeah, uh, he was a stolen pet, and he was beaten. A volunteer that worked with Nami actually heard the man, beating him and the dog crying right
Oh,
next door to him. So he actually had a pot of boiling water already boiling because they boil dogs too, as you know, I'm sure.
yeah.
Um, and so that was the story that Nami had up there, and that's why it made me want to love him even more.
Oh, yes.
Um,
So he was saved at the last minute because he was going to be put in that boiling pot of
yeah,
water.
yes.
That pot
So
of boiling water, I'm sorry.
yeah,
And they make soup over
yeah,
there. Yeah.
hmm
Oh my God.
yeah, dog soup. Yeah.
And
So
they
lucky.
knew he was a stolen pet because he had a collar, or what gave them that impression, or
Um, there was a oh God. All right, we have to hold on. I have to change that. I'm
no, no
sorry.
problem. It's the beauty of not being
Story,
live.
the story, I mean, it's an old story, so I forgot that he was a stolen. All right, this is just you and me now.
Yeah, yeah.
He was a stolen pet that Nami adopted out to this couple, and this
Oh,
couple lived next door to Nami's volunteer.
okay.
So I have to tell this over. An old man lived with the couple. Nami never told me who the older man was, but he's
Okay.
the one who, while the couple was at work, was beating
And the old
Smiley.
man was maybe the father of
Yeah, maybe.
like
I
a
don't know.
grandpa living. Okay.
So
So well,
he was a stolen pet, but then
he
he
was
ended up
adopted
with
out.
Nami, and Nami adopted him out to this couple who that happened.
Okay, so
So
let's start again.
I know.
Okay,
So
so
but
I'm
I want to simplify it though. I kind of
no, I think that's good. You know, that's really the truth, and it's important to know that. And you know why it's important to say it is that often people will criticize us for adopting dogs over here when they could be adopted over there. But this is a perfect proof that they're at risk. You know, honestly, if they stay in those countries, especially in China, there's no animal welfare laws.
oh yeah. No, and like I always say when people say that about adopting here, why don't you adopt here instead of there? I say number one, I have.
Yeah.
Number two, if there's too many dogs here, we can work here on our laws and change what needs to be changed here, but we can also help there too.
Okay, but I want you to say that for real. So okay,
But
we'll get back to the story of Smiley with Nami Kim. So I'll reintroduce it. So Smiley, you see this picture on Facebook on I guess Safe Korean Dogs page, and
at the time it was Nami Kim's Facebook page.
oh, okay, it was
Yeah,
her personal page.
yeah.
And so, what was his story like? Do you know what was the story?
Yeah, Nami, she told me that she had adopted Smiley out twice. Once he was stolen.
Okay.
Oh my God, Jade, I'm sorry.
It's
I think I'm
fine.
getting the story wrong. Hold on. Smiley.
He was rescued by Nami Kim first. Maybe he was.
I'm not going to say I know he was rescued twice, but I don't want to make it confusing like that.
So why
So
don't you just say
I'm just
that?
going to say that he was adopted out
But
to
by
this.
Nami, so he must have been rescued by her somehow, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was given to this. All right, so start over again. I'm so
Oh
sorry.
no, no, but I don't need to reintroduce it. We'll just pick up and you'll say, okay, so
Okay,
what was the story?
okay. So Nami had adopted out Smiley to a couple, um, and one of Nami's volunteers lived next door to this couple. And one day he heard Smiley and he intervened because he was
Okay,
getting
the video
beat.
cut. The video cut. So, okay. I guess you were saying Smiley, just go back and start at Smiley was adopted out by Nami to a couple. Okay.
Okay. So Smiley was adopted out to a couple, and next door to the couple happened to live a volunteer that worked for Nami. So one day he heard the dog screaming next door, and he intervened. It was an older man that lived there with the couple. I don't know the relation between the couple and the older man, but the older man had a pot of water boiling ready to put Smiley into.
Oh my God.
And he was bloody and he was beaten and he needed surgery and he lost an eye.
Oh
Um,
my God. He
so,
was like extremely beaten, to
yeah,
a
yeah, he
pulp.
was close to, yeah, so he was very close to death and, it made me want to show him love even more, you know?
Absolutely. That's horrific.
So yes, of course it is.
And that is actually typical in Korea. There's this mentality, and not just Korea, it's across Asia, really. This idea that the more suffering the dog endures before death, the more medicinal the meat will be.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially in older men in South Korea, they really consume it to increase virility often.
yeah,
They have all these misguided beliefs that it'll keep them cool during the summer, hot summer days, keep them warm during winter. It does all sorts of miracle things, this dog meat. But it's really what got me from the get-go when I heard this cause is really the torture aspect of the trade. And it's unique
absolutely.
to the dog cat meat trade. It's not something that is prevalent in other industries, although, we all know there are cases of cows being mistreated and pigs and so on. I
Yeah,
mean, the meat industry itself is cruel, but this torture, the deliberate torture, is really unique to the dog cat meat trade, and that is why I'm so adamant about ending it. And like we're all fighting to put an end to this atrocity. It's
yeah,
an atrocity. It
yes.
should never be taking place. But I spoke to someone who did Kevin Leahy. He
Mm-hmm.
did farm investigations. He investigated dog meat farms in South Korea for almost 2 years. He visited everything from small scale farms to mid-size to the larger ones.
Okay.
And the small scale farm, that is where you see a lot of the old, the beating. The dogs are beaten to death. Often they are strangled. They are thrown in a pot of boiling water, often while still alive. And
Mm,
that is much more prevalent on smaller scale farms, whereas the larger farms, it's more systematic. It's more like get the dog, killed, and the method of slaughter is electrocution. So they
yep.
will put a prog in the dog's mouth and they get electrocuted that way. I don't know what's worse. I mean, I am assuming the beating's got to be worse, but being electrocuted is very, very painful. So
Yeah, it's all around
it's all
very
horrible.
evil practice.
It's
Very,
hard to
very
say
evil.
what's crueler than the next. It's really horrible, all of it.
Yeah,
So I can understand that story, mixed with the picture, it would compel you to want to adopt Smiley.
yes.
And so, what a beautiful thing you did, and you were courageous because you were the first one. Like the first one in your family and your surroundings and the United States, really, to adopt a dog from South Korea. So.
Yeah, and eventually Smiley, he was the domino effect for motivating NAMI to send thousands of dogs to the US.
Wow.
So yeah, it was an amazing legacy that Smiley has left. For many people who knew him, NAMI, I mean, he was very special to NAMI.
Oh my
And
God. I,
he symbolized a lot,
Yeah,
Smiley.
he really started it all in many ways, and we thank him, and we thank you for
I
bringing
do.
a spotlight on this, and you've informed your community, you've informed your family, and all this because of Smiley, that
Yeah,
one picture,
yeah,
and that one story that would break anyone's heart.
yeah. It
So
was
God
nice.
bless you for doing that. I mean, that was a
Well,
life-changing event.
I feel like I'm the one who's blessed,
Yes, yes, I
right?
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm saying when you adopt a survivor like this, it's a life-changing experience for both, the adopter and
Oh
the
yeah.
adoptee. and
Yeah.
it's enriching. It's absolutely enriching. So
Um,
I guess we're gonna have to let you go at this point. We've been talking for a little bit, and I do appreciate your time so much. And we will obviously be incorporating all these beautiful pictures you sent me of your beautiful
thank you.
dogs. And I just have maybe one final question for you, because you've been doing this, you've been a volunteer, you've been an adopter, you have a large network at this point built up of rescue organizations and people that are involved. And so I was wondering if you had a guest suggestion for me, because my podcast is primarily on the dog cat meat trade at this point. Eventually, maybe we'll tackle other animal welfare issues, but for now, I really, the whole focus is education.
Hmm.
And be it a nonprofit that you think I should have on the podcast, or a person that's been implicated as a volunteer, an activist. Do you have anyone that you think should be on the podcast and that could teach us a little bit more?
Um, well, I think anybody I would recommend to you, you've already talked to. I mean, you've talked to John, right?
Mm,
I
yes,
met
John.
John through all of this, and
And
that's
I'll
how.
let you say his last name because you say it beautifully. You're Italian.
You want me to say his last name?
Yes,
How I say it?
yes.
Baracus.
Baracus. Okay, so John Baracus, and that is Canine Global
Yeah.
Rescue. And John and Phil, I'm less
But it's
familiar.
really not John Baracus. He corrects me.
Okay, what
It's,
is he like?
well,
Baracus? Or?
no, I don't know if we should actually put that in there. I thought you were joking about that, but Baracus is not
Well,
how
how
you.
does he pronounce it?
Um, I don't even know.
Okay,
Barocus, maybe? I
okay,
don't know.
okay. So, okay, we'll just a little bit cut that out. But okay, so you are saying, okay, just say again, John. I think you've interviewed John. Okay, start there.
Okay, so you've interviewed John, right?
Yes, John of Canine Global Rescue. I did. It was my second podcast after Andy Abrahams Wilson, who's the
Mm-hmm.
director of Dog
Right.
War.
Yeah, he's
Um,
another one who I
but
would have
yes,
said.
you're right that I did. When I started this podcast, I wasn't sure if anyone would speak to me because I'm a unknown person. I'm not a celebrity by any means, and the podcast was the first. Like it was my first
Yeah,
experience
that's
doing any kind of
awesome.
podcast. But I think a lot of people were willing to talk because it is the first and only, to this day, is the only podcast on the dog cat meat trade. And I was surprised because the whole reason why I started the podcast is I was looking for information, and I found a great way to learn is to listen to podcasts. I listened to podcasts on yoga, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, there must be something on this. So I was searching iTunes, like everywhere, could not find anything.
Wow.
And so I think the fact that I was saying it's the first and only podcast on the dog cat meat trade, a lot of organizations that are internationally known, like Soy Dog, I had John
Mm-hmm.
Daly from Soy Dog, I had
Okay.
Jill Robinson from Animals Asia. I've had many people because they felt, well, yeah, sure, let's be part of the conversation. Um, and it's a great way to highlight the work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But at this stage, I've actually started focusing more on smaller organizations that people might not have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my future guests is actually going to be Furry Angels Haven of Wuhan, which is a nonprofit in
Yeah.
Wuhan, where the
Okay.
COVID-19 came from.
Yeah.
And so they're doing great work. It's headed by an American and a local Chinese. And
Okay.
so I'm always curious if, anyways, we are in touch. So if you come up with
Good.
something or someone
Yeah.
that you think would benefit viewers, because the whole idea is to share
Okay.
information, let me
Okay.
know.
All right.
And I thank you so much, Anne-Marie. You've been so generous with your time, and more importantly, I thank you for what you are doing. You are such a great advocate for the cause. You volunteer, you share, you're very open and generous with your time, and you're a fine example of what we can do over here to
Right,
help the dogs and cats over there. And we're
right.
not as powerless as we think we are.
That's right. And I want to say thank you to you for doing the podcast. Thank
Oh,
you
thank
for
you.
bringing attention to it because that's huge. You know, like you said, you're not a famous person or a celebrity. We don't want them. We need people. We need everyday people with everyday story. No, and I don't mean that, you know, we need everybody.
Yeah, we need everybody. Absolutely.
Everybody who will be a voice, we need them. And to, you know, to people who might say, if I might add this, I think it's an important point. To people who might say, why would you adopt a dog from Korea when you could go right down the block to your local
Yes.
shelter
Yes.
and adopt a dog?
Yeah.
I have a couple of answers to that,
Okay. Go
and I'll
ahead.
use them. Um, Number one, I have adopted dogs locally.
Yeah.
Number two, you could do both.
Yeah.
You know, number three, the dogs at the shelter are far better off than the dogs in South Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, I have learned the first time I volunteered at a shelter, I walked in and cried because there were dogs in cages. This is 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
But when I heard about this, I didn't forget about those dogs.
No.
I still help locally, but I also help on the other side of the world as well, where I feel it's needed more and most. And at the same time, we can all do our part in our local area. We could try to get laws changed.
Yeah.
We could volunteer. You know, we could do both. So that's really not a legitimate point. And then what I would say to the person that says that too
Yeah.
is, what are you doing in your local area
Yeah.
to help the shelter dogs?
Yes. Thank you. Because often
And
the
sometimes
criticism comes from people that do nothing, right? Like they're
right,
not
I
doing
was
anything.
going to say, sometimes that'll end the conversation right there. You know?
I like that. That's a great answer. And I will second that or, corroborate with that because I did ask that question to Suki Su, who's she's the director of the Animal Hope and Wellness China shelter. Um,
Yeah.
and and I wanted her to answer it because I've had the criticism myself. Many people in Montreal, they were like, "Why spend all this money flying a dog from China when you could spend that money and help more dogs over there, get them adopted over there?" And I asked her, "Why do you feel it's important to adopt dogs out to the U.S., to foreign countries, out of China?" And she said they would not be safe. They would not be
Exactly.
safe in that country because, first of all, there's no animal welfare laws. We
Right.
can say what we will about our own laws, but at least we have some protection
Yeah.
laws. And she said also it's in China especially, there's something called dog napping, and it happens every day.
Yeah.
People are thirsty for money, and they know that if they can steal a dog, they can get $50 or something.
Yeah.
And they do it all the time. They steal people's pets. They steal
Yeah.
dogs that are on the streets.
Yeah.
And so she's like, that's why I would not feel safe at all keeping a dog in China. And,
That's right.
things will improve. Hopefully, we're close to having China pass some animal welfare laws. Hopefully, we'll
Yeah.
see the day. And at that point, maybe it will be possible. But until then, it's something that you can do, and we have a lot of wealth and resources over here in North America, Canada, US is a huge country. And so if you can do both, why not,
Yeah, and not everybody can even donate. Not everybody even has the money to donate.
No.
And what I say is share a post. If
Yes,
all you can do is share a post,
that's
then
already something.
that, because it only takes one person. We need one person for that one dog. And if
Yeah,
the right person sees it,
Yeah,
maybe it could come from your share. So I try to help people to not feel helpless about it,
yeah,
because a lot of people feel like I can't do anything.
yes,
Compare what one person does to what they can do or not do. And, you know, anything you do, anything,
absolutely.
talk about it,
Every little step is a step closer to finding an end to this atrocity,
Yeah,
and I do hope I see it in my lifetime, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so focused on ending this dog cat meat trade,
yeah,
as opposed to other causes. And I do support other animal welfare causes, of course. I'm
hmm,
vegan. I've been vegan for most of my life, but the reason why I'm fighting so hard for this is that it's something that's viable. I think, like dog cat meat trade doesn't exist anywhere else but in that part of the continent,
yeah,
Asia Pacific.
hmm,
It's very specific, and dogs and cats are considered companion animals in most of the world. And so I think we can get there. Whereas I don't see a vegan world in my lifetime. I'm sorry, like as much as I would like it, it's
yeah,
unlikely. It's unlikely to
yeah,
change because that's a global issue. It's in every
yeah,
country there's an animal agriculture industry.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas there's no dog cat meat trade in Canada and the US. I mean, properly speaking, not as a whole. I mean, there are
yeah,
isolated incidents, but as a
right,
trade, it doesn't exist anywhere else. And
right.
so I'm hopeful that we will see the end. And,
Well, I'll tell you, Canine Global Rescue is on a mission to end the dog meat
yes,
trade. So
amazing organization.
we're at the root of the problem and looking to end it. In the interim, adopt out some dogs, yes,
Yes.
but their goal is to end the dog meat trade. So I would say to anyone supporting Canine Global Rescue is a huge part for or
The
someone to be a
solution.
part of,
Yeah.
because they're active,
Yeah.
in doing so. And you know these are former combat veterans who don't mess around.
I know.
They're on a mission,
I
so I'm
love
going to
them.
support their mission. And um,
And more importantly, they're super honest, transparent. They're
yeah,
genuine.
yeah,
They love dogs from in their
yeah,
hearts, and they want to see the end. So
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Support Canine Global Rescue, and we'll have the links in the
Thank you.
description box below. So absolutely, that's a great way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Anne
Thank
Marie.
you, Jane.
I'm so glad I got to know you. I think we'll keep the conversation going. And like I
Absolutely.
say, drop me a line if you think of someone that would be a good
I
guest.
will. Okay, you got it.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you, Anne Marie.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.